What's up, guys? Today is story time, but first, let's get some coffee. Been a while since I had a nice cup of joe. As you guys probably know already, I've been sick for actually like 3 months now, so trying to stay away from coffee as much as I can just to help with the cough. So this is a nice treat. Alright, so for today, I have been wanting to do story time for a long time. And what I mean by that is I've had this idea of sharing kind of stories of actually failures, because a lot of people usually talk about the positive things and all of that, and I think it's important to also discuss I don't want to say negative things, but the failures that one has in life, because those are the times when we learn the most from things. And so this kind of started off as like an idea to share some of my failures that I've had in life, but I think it's going to morph into something different, more so into just story time. Plain and simple, just me telling stories of some of my experiences that I went through. And because most of my personal and professional life is now defined by pharmacy, most of the stories you're gonna hear about are pharmacy. So today, I'm actually gonna share one of my failures, if you will. It's actually one of probably like the top 5 most embarrassing stories I've had in my pharmacy career. So I hope you guys enjoy this, because this is probably it's very embarrassing. And you guys can probably tell from the title, it's gonna be embarrassing. So let's just roll with it and let me share the story. So let's get right into it. The time of the story when it takes place is when I am a pharmacy student on rotations. I'm a 4th year. During this time, there's this huge shift from it's not about just how hospitals take care of patients, but it's also about the patient experience. And what I'm trying to get at is, you guys probably are already aware, but HCAHPS scores. So there's this whole thing that was developed about, just because you can take care of a patient, that doesn't account for everything in terms of reimbursement. The patient experience matters too. So how well their pain is treated, how well they feel they're being treated, how well they understand the things you guys are telling to them. That was part of it. So the rotation I was at was doing this initiative. So as part of the initiative, they had all the pharmacy students go around to newly admitted patients, talk to them about new medications that they've been put on and some of the side effects that they might expect. Very plain and simple. So I was excited that day. I came in, I got my list of patients that I had to counsel, and so, walked right into the room. And so if you can imagine right now, walk into the room, it's a shared room. The very far end of the room, I walk in like this. The very far end of the room is a nurse and a patient. They're kind of at the foot of the bed, and they're kind of chatting and they're doing something. I don't know, I didn't pay too much attention to that. But then the patient that I needed to talk to was right in front of me, right when you walk in, right in front of me. But when I walked in, there was this curtain in front of their bed. And so I was like, okay, I don't know what I was thinking at the time. I was just maybe thinking a bedside procedure, or they wanted some privacy, or something was going on there. So I was like, okay, let me ask my preceptor, because we all round or pre-round on the same patient, so maybe my preceptor knows what's going on. So I go ahead and walk back out the room, walk over to my preceptor. I'm like, Mr. Preceptor, my patient over there has this curtain in front of his room, and do you know what's going on? Is he having a bedside procedure? Did he go downstairs? I have no idea. I just really had no idea what was going on, and he was talking to my colleague, another pharmacy student, and he was talking like this, and he looks at me, he's like, well, Brian, he's probably on the bedside commode. And I look back at him and I say, bedside commode. Okay. And in my mind, I had no idea what that is. If you guys have been following me for a while, you would know that most of my undergraduate and childhood years, developmental years, were not about healthcare. I didn't really know much about healthcare. I was engineering, so I didn't really know many healthcare terms. I should have. At this time, it's 4 years now in the pharmacy school, so I should have known a lot more. But I didn't, and as a prideful student with a lot of ego at the time, I was like, you know what? I didn't say I didn't know, so I was like, okay, bedside commode. Okay, and then he looks again at me, he's like, yep, bedside commode. And I was like, all right. Walk back into the room, here it is, the nurse and the patient still at the far end side. I look at the patient, curtain's still up, and I'm like, bedside commode. So what I do is I call his name, Mr. So-and-so, let's call him Mr. David. Mr. David, are you there? And then Mr. David over there is like, yes. And then so I'm like, oh, he's there. So he must be, he's not sleeping. That's good. And I was like, my name is Brian. I am a pharmacy student. I'm here to talk to you about your new medications. Do you have a few minutes of your time? Something like that, right? And it's kind of fuzzy at this time. I don't remember if I even heard an answer from him. But what I do remember is that, this curtain is large. It looks very heavy. It goes all the way up to the ceiling. And it kind of like wraps around like this and it goes back like that. So all I remember is with two hands grabbing the curtain and just whoosh. And it just kind of whooshes this way and whooshes back. And so that's what happens. And I don't know why I did it that hard. I just, I don't remember. But I did. And I can tell you at that time, shock was the very next emotion that was that took place amongst all parties in that room. So for one, I'm in shock because I have just now learned what a bedside commode is. So I'm looking in front of me, I see a bed, the bed is empty. To my right is the patient, and the patient is in shock, and I can see that shock in his eyes. And so I'm in shock because I know what it is now. And now the patient is, so we're in the corner, and a bedside commode, by the way, for those of you guys who don't know, is a bedside toilet. And this guy is doing a number 2 on this bedside toilet. And so he's sitting there, he's like this, and he's looking straight, but when I open the curtain, he looks straight at me, and he's in shock. And so he's just looking at me in shock. I'm looking back at him in shock. And over to my left is the nurse and the patient. They're in shock because it was all of a sudden. But they were the first to change their emotion, and they go from shock to laughter. And they start giggling. And I'm still in shock. The patient's in shock. And I felt like it probably felt like an eternity of us staring. But the next thing I know, I was like, oh, kicked in, grabbed the curtain, pulled it back, and I'm like, I'm embarrassed now. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And then I just walk out of the room. I go back to my preceptor, and I'm like, so the patient was on a toilet. And then my preceptor was like, yeah, a bedside commode is a toilet. So I kind of tell them the story about what just happened, and they're laughing, and my face is red. I'm embarrassed. I was just like, wow, that is, yep, that just happened. That is a very, very embarrassing story. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed that story. I hope you guys learned from my failure in that case. And, well, we'll just kind of wrap this video up then. Let me take one more sip here. Very good. Alright guys, I hope to see you guys on the next video, and until next time. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and watching the video. If you like the content, definitely hit the Impro RX button over to your left to subscribe, and definitely check out more videos over here to your right. Now, as always, if you have questions, comments, and even better, suggestions for future videos, definitely let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, until next time, guys.